Now we're going to transition into our lightning talk portion, beginning with our first segment, which is health and wellness. And so as this is the first, I'm just going to give a little bit of a brief overview of how this is going to work. So for each segment, we have 2 to 4 lightning talk speakers. We're going to have each speaker have 5 minutes to present their prototype. And then at the end, we're going to have about 10 minutes for a question and answer period. And so for during the presentations, feel free to drop your questions into the chat, and then I will facilitate. We might not have time to get to all questions, but we will save a transcript and make sure to direct questions to speakers. And so starting with health and wellness. Delighted to be introducing our 3 speakers. First, we have B Global Safety, focused on real-time facility and supply chain operations safety. Next, we have Juli, focused on chronic care patient management, which is a chronic care patient management platform. And last but not least, GesundAI. They're focused on clinical imaging AI validation platform, enabling safety and inclusivity. And so, B Global Safety, we'll hand it over to you.
Perfect. Awesome. Hey, everyone. My name is Nilay Parikh. I'm the founder and CEO of B Global Safety, which is an AI-powered supply chain safety platform. So why supply chain and why safety? So let's take a look. 5 out of every 100 US workers in warehouses was injured in 2021. As per the National Safety Council's data, the number of deaths and injuries in workplaces continues to be at a staggering number. And in 2022, in the 21st century, and in one of the most advanced countries in the world, right, these numbers, 4 million injuries at work, they're simply too high. And I think everyone on this call would agree when I say that this is absolutely unacceptable. Further, 40% of our workforce in the US is currently employed in supply chains. And it's almost crazy to imagine that it costs US employers over $1 billion every week on these safety incidents and accidents. Now, there are various factors leading to this number, but the biggest reason for this number is that our safety processes are manual and they're outdated. So what did we do about that? We developed a rather very intelligent safety technology, or ARVIST for short. ARVIST is an AI-powered supply chain platform to detect unsafe conditions and security incidents in real time. But before I dive into the how, let's take a quick look at the why. Right? Every single step as defined in the OSHA or ISO standards requires a form of manual reporting of the incident and corrective actions to be taken, making this process cumbersome, as well as a deterrent itself for reporting incidents, in addition to the fear of retribution from higher authorities. This results in almost 85% of all these unsafe conditions, incidents, and near misses not being captured. So now you tell me, right, how can we prevent accidents and incidents if we don't even have the data? That's where we come in. We have automated the safety data collection process by connecting into existing infrastructure like cameras and sensors and giving 24/7 reporting of unsafe conditions. Further, we take that data and then give trends and analytics around the safety conditions so that our users can take proactive measures to prevent them from happening in the future. So let's take a quick look at how it actually works. So ARVIST connects seamlessly with your existing infrastructure like cameras and sensors and can be up and running in less than 48 hours and works with all the leading camera brands and equipment, giving you insights into forklift human collisions or near misses with any kinds of equipments, ergonomics of people. Our risk assessment algorithm uses 24 limbs detection to give accurate predictions around the chances of someone getting a musculoskeletal disorder, or MSD for short. Again, any accidents, slips and falls, spills, mobile phone distractions, people wearing the right personal protective equipment, unknown objects lying in the walking pathways, and much more is possible with ARVIST. You can also customize the notifications to appear in email or text messages or in dashboard reports, and also manually add incidents when AI is not accurate or not available. And then finally, the analytics which allows you to use the data for future accident prevention, but also used for safety audits and other OSHA form requirements. Some of the modules that we have already developed include things like vehicle collisions, like you saw, lone worker alerts, slips and falls, unknown objects and walking pathways, PPE detections, as well as air quality and gas detections, hazardous gas detections. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, I know Lynn mentioned about public trust and privacy, and that is something that we value a lot at Be Global Safety. We have the ability to blur out all employee faces to protect their privacy. Now, we also deployed on-premise to protect the data, but most importantly, wanted to mention that we don't only use your normal machine learning or computer vision tools, but we use what is called federated learning algorithms, which allow for distributed machine learning, which is way more secure and way more accurate. Finally, our goal with the digitized safety solution is to have a happier and a much more satisfied workforce. In times of record low unemployment, I don't need to stress the importance of employees and workers feeling safe and happy where they're working. A more satisfied employee means a more efficient workforce, leading to more productivity from the organization, and in turn, leading to lower employee turnover. All of this enables us to create an effective workplace which is suitable for the 21st century. And we can also happily say that we are playing a part in at least 3 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals set out by United Nations with our solution for a better digital safe solution. In conclusion, I want to say a safe workplace is a fundamental human right. And at Be Global Safety, we have an opportunity to ensure the vision of an incident-free workplace with ethical use of artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you, Be Global Safety, and appreciate how you were right on that 5-minute mark. Next up, we have Juli, which is a digital chronic care patient management platform.
Hello, everyone. My name's Bettina Hein. I'm the founder and CEO of Juli. Juli is a chronic condition care platform. I've been a tech entrepreneur for my entire career. I've built 2 prior $100 million plus software companies. And what I'm a specialist for is taking large amounts of data, applying AI to it to optimize for a certain outcome. So I come from this perspective to the healthcare world. And I'm also a chronic condition patient. So I'm passionate about improving the lives of people with chronic conditions.
And I'm Dr. Joe Hayes. I'm Chief Medical Officer at Juli. I'm also Professor of Psychiatry at University College London and a physician in the UK National Health Service.
So I will, there we go, share my screen with you. Hold on one second. All right. As you know, chronic conditions make up a huge chunk of all healthcare cost. If you add, so it's 70%, if you add mental health conditions, it's over 90% versus just 10% acute care. As I mentioned, I became passionate about this because I myself have a chronic condition. So I assembled a team, Joe and I assembled a team to tackle this problem. We bring people together from the world of consumer apps, from marketing, from AI specialists, and from clinical experts. And we're very proud that we've been able to win pioneers like Joe Quaidar and others as our advisors. For example, Joe Quaidar is the president of the American Telemedicine Association. I can tell you a lot about Juli, but I thought it would be great to just show you a video to tell you more about Juli.
Migraine, asthma, depression, bipolar disorder, chronic pain. A significant proportion of people in the U.S. have chronic health conditions, and many even have to manage comorbidities. Juli is a next-gen AI-powered chronic condition management platform for patients and their care teams. Our AI identifies triggers and gives recommendations for evidence-based personalized microbehavioral changes. Juli gathers biomarkers like sleep and fitness data from your smartphone and other wearables, along with environmental data, reminds you to take your medication and tracks your adherence, and integrates data from the patient's electronic health record, as well as patient-reported information specific to their condition, like mood, emergency inhaler usage, or pain level. This includes a commonly used, clinically relevant, patient-rated outcome measure questionnaire completed every 2 weeks. Juli combines all of this data into one easy-to-interpret dashboard for the patient that the user can interact with via a chat function. Based on this data and the patient's profile, Juli gives personalized behavioral and lifestyle changes via our gamified goal-setting feature. This has been warmly received in patient reviews. The Juli platform is fully FHIR compatible and can deliver real-time data to existing workflows, such as Epic, to give insights and recommendations to the care team for a better care experience and better resource allocation. We are continuing to expand the number of conditions we cover. And with Juli, patients can manage and report data on several comorbidities. Juli, helping patients and clinicians improve health.
So I will hand it over to Dr. Joe Hayes now, and he will give you some information about the details, because he not only is a physician, but he researches at the intersection of data science, AI, and healthcare. I want to also mention that we've already onboarded over 20,000 patients to Juli. Joe?
Thanks, Bettina. So the idea for Juli really was born out of what I saw as a physician as being a missing part of patient care. So it's our aim to bridge this gap between care episodes with data and to use this data smartly. Our machine learning models take many different types of data into account, which you can see on the next slide. These models can identify current health state and predict future severity of health conditions. They then select targeted insights and advice for the patient. So we use an array of AI approaches, including recurrent and convolutional neuronal networks to predict illness state, natural language processing for free text, and we are working on genetic algorithms to personalize behavioral interventions for the patient. On to the next slide, we're going to see that we then make this available to clinicians in their workflows to improve patient management. And we're already starting to see positive results from the conditions that we cover. So at 8 weeks, we see symptom reduction that's consistent with a clinically recognized improvement in each condition. And we're running 2 randomized control trials of Juli with our built-in clinical trial framework, which we hope will validate these results.
Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to having some conversations. Thank you all for your service, and we hope that we can improve health together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you from Juli. And so our third lightning talk in this health and wellness category is going to be from GesundAI.
Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Enes Hosker. I'm the CEO and founder of a technology organization that is focused on the clinical validation of AI solutions. And having built AI products and companies in the last 10 plus years, and now also a couple of successful exits under my belt, I can tell you that building AI products is a challenge. And especially so in the medical domain, where there are many nuances to different data modalities, to patient profiles, and technical and regulatory issues surrounding it. And what has been developed so far is, unfortunately, in the medical AI domain, is based on very little data to capture the diversity of patient groups, ethnicities, gender, comorbidities, etc. And as a rule of thumb, your algorithm is only as good as the data is trained on. And therefore, we've been left with many algorithms that are biased inherently and that are brittle given the little data they've been trained on. And if you look at the last couple of years, if the COVID pandemic has taught us anything regarding the adoption or success of AI, is that they don't really scale. We have yet to see a success story for a COVID algorithm. And that's mostly based on how brittle these algorithms are surrounding the data issues. And in order to validate how an AI algorithm works, and just like think of it as a new medical product category, just like drugs or medical devices, you need to be able to test it against new data. And the data access has been a main challenge, given data sits with healthcare systems as the data custodians that are subject to different privacy and security, different compliance considerations. And therefore, you need better data access that is compliant, that is machine learning friendly, and that is also scalable, because you need large volumes of data to create robust algorithms. And given most of these AI companies to date, and by the way, many of them were born overseas and trained the algorithms using overseas data, they see that, even though they can transfer some little data sets to train their prototypes, they realize that they don't really, see much real world success as they go live. And bringing the algorithms to the data source, i.e. the healthcare systems, is also technically challenging because that kind of a machine learning infrastructure is just absent. And what has been done thus far is mostly, unfortunately, in an ad hoc fashion, evaluating algorithms, mostly letting AI vendors go about this on their own to figure out how they can generate clinical evidence, finding data, finding US board certified physicians to annotate and read, and then ultimately generate that evidence to be able to make their case. And thus far, hundreds of medical AI algorithms have been approved from a regulatory standpoint in the US and elsewhere, and thousands of them are in the making. And many of them will be introduced to the US, and many of them are already introduced to the US market, but still seeing a struggle in adoption because of the clinical and bias-related issues that were just mentioned. And with that in mind, we have developed this technology platform that orchestrates the entire machine learning lifecycle in the medical domain, and such that we can generate clinical evidence across partner clinical sites in a compliant way to create, blind spot analyses and robust performance analyses for all AI stakeholders to ensure that the AI algorithms that are introduced to the US market are safe, equitable, and also meaningful. And from a US federal standpoint, there are more to this. In other words, how do you conduct research and development as a DoD or as an NIH or as an FDA while collaborating with different agencies or different institutions within your agency, while also collaborating with other leading university hospitals, as well as technology organizations? That kind of infrastructure is just absent, and that's why we're filling this gap. Here's a short demo of our technology. In essence, it's a wet lab for medical AI products. And even though it was originally developed for medical AI computer vision, it could be geared towards any computer vision problem. We just chose to pursue medical problem space. And this is a non-technical user interface that allows anybody, say a physician scientist or biostatistician or regulatory professional, to understand how an algorithm performs across cohorts of interest with respect to gender, ethnicity, age groups, comorbidities. You can't just let data scientists do data science in a vacuum. Then what you get is just brittle algorithms. So therefore, you have to build this collaborative environment that allows even non-data scientists, even non-technical stakeholders to participate in the development of these algorithms. The end result from a regulatory standpoint is a performance report. And then that can be generated by deploying this technology both on-premise, which is generally the setup that we go for, given most healthcare providers in the US don't have a cloud infrastructure, but we can also host it on the cloud. Again, there's a new wave of innovation coming in medical AI, and many of them have been developed overseas, and they seek entry, commercial and clinical entry into the US. And we see many US agencies developing their own algorithms, if only they had the right tools and the right infrastructure and the right data collaboration environment. And we believe our infrastructure can help the US agencies and other institutions collaborate with other stakeholders and bring more robust, more equitable, and more safe algorithms faster and at scale to the US people. Here's a few noteworthy individuals from my advisory board, including Dr. David Shulkin, Brian Sivak, and Professor Paul Chang, again, covering different government and clinical domain expertise. Again, we believe a platform and infrastructure first approach is required to build the next generation of products in the medical AI world. And if you don't do that, we believe we'll miss on the opportunity as the wave of innovation coming from AI, and also potentially lead some unsafe algorithms who seek entry into U.S. institutions and lead to less than ideal outcomes. And we believe with this kind of infrastructure, we'll be pandemic ready next time around, when we'll be better, maybe building more robust and ready to go AI algorithms.
Thank you. We will be moving into our question and answer portion now for the remaining 8 minutes. And so we have a few questions queued up for each of our presenters. The first one is for the global safety. Does your program have the authority to intercede when a human becomes dysfunctional?
Yes, so we do give alerts around when there's a man or a woman down and fallen, and we give notifications to their immediate area manager or facility manager every 5 minutes. And the customized notifications can be done through text or emails, and then the workflow can be dependent on the hierarchy of people around. But since we don't do facial recognition, we don't alert the person themselves, but we try to alert the people in that surroundings.
Thank you. And so then this next question, does medical AI technology go through any FDA approval process? And I'll have that question maybe first be directed to Juli, and then secondly to Gesund.
Okay, well, it depends really what kind of health technology you have. The FDA has sort of 3 types of categories that they look at. One is that doesn't need to be regulated, which is in the health and wellness space. And one is more in the digital therapeutics, if you're actually needing to help people in acute situations. Juli is in the middle category, which means that we don't have to have FDA approval for what we do. But if we would want to move more into the digital therapeutic area, we would then go for that at a later state. Right now, we're helping people with chronic conditions. And the same is true for any other digital health company.
All right, well, let me take a crack at that too. As Bettina said, not all algorithms are equal, right? And not all algorithms have the same, set of ambitious claims. Some of them are, a low touch. Some of them are designed to improve the operational issues that surround the healthcare ecosystem. So again, not every algorithm is subject to regulatory approval. That being said, our company is specializing in the, regulatory space. In other words, what are some of the, highest claim type of products that try to touch diagnostics, that try to touch prognosis, treatment, influence physician decision-making? All that types of things are required to, are subject to scrutiny. And therefore, there is an up and coming set of best practices that the FDA oversees that is trying to, position AI as a new product category, because as, many people attest, AI is not a drug or a medical device. It evolves and devolves. So therefore, you have to keep tabs on it. You have to monitor it. And when you have a new claim, or when you have a new version of the algorithm, because you have retrained your algorithm, you cannot really go back to square one. So it's really a tricky one. And therefore, a new set of, regulatory frameworks are emerging under the supervision of the FDA. And we're working alongside with them.
Thank you. So then our next question has to do with suicide prevention for Juli. Do your plans cover workers in high-risk occupations, such as airline pilots, if a suspicion arises that a worker poses a risk of suicide?
So we validate people's health state with what's called the PHQ-8. So that's a clinical scale that any psychiatrist would apply. And we actually then we showed you a little bit of this. We have a dashboard for, seeing which people are moving into sort of a traffic light red, and then a chronic condition care case manager could intervene. So I'm aware of the German Wings and China Air ones. And it depends on how honest someone is, but what we can see in our data is we can do health state prediction. So we can see approximately half a week to a week out if somebody's condition is going downhill. So yes, we can help with that. We though would have to roll that out very carefully with someone in your agency.
Thank you, Bettina. And then one final question to close out this section. And this is a general question. What computer vision engine tools are you currently using, if any? And I'll direct that first to Nile from B Global Safety.
Yeah, so we're using the standard AWS as a backend for construction, and on the coding side, we're using Python.
I'll go next. We built our proprietary stack using Python, but our platform, again, we're not building algorithms. We're just building the platform to build the algorithms, so the tools, the picks and shovels, if you will. So therefore, we had to build this proprietary stack that is agnostic to whether you're using TensorFlow, PyTorch, whatever data format, if it's DICOM or YOLO, etc. So therefore, we also had to go back to the basics and really create this environment where you're not dependent on a cloud setup like AWS or Azure, because if you're talking about clinical data access through healthcare systems, you won't have the cloud. So you have to build a new stack that can reside on-prem, air-gapped, no internet, no cloud. That's what we did.
Thank you. Yeah.
You wanted to answer as well? So we use a cloud-based stack. So we're on the Google Cloud, but what we do is we are establishing data clean rooms, which is somewhat similar to the federated learning that was mentioned before, to be able to deal with health data in a very secure way. Also, we have advisors on medical AI ethics that have informed how we've created our platform and how we've structured the software.
Thank you. Thank you to all three of our speakers, our companies, for coming to present on this section. I hope that everyone who is listening is getting kind of the gears turning of how these technologies can help toward agency missions. Thank you.